Number 4. You have everything you need to change now. Limitations are usually not in the person or in the world, but in the person's views and beliefs about the world. So there's always another way to think about and experience anything. So how are we going to take back the power to experience whatever's happening in a way that gives us greater choice? Well, I'm going to now change the way I hope you can understand that there's another way your brain could work in relationship that's different than the automatic way it relates. And that has to do with point number 2. You have limited power to change others in the world, but you have unlimited power to change yourself. So let's look at the ivory-colored handout. It's the second one in your list. It's called Power and Control in Relationships. And let's look at this model, and then, well, it starts like this. Right, this will help us get into this. Can you remember a time and a place when you let somebody else make you have a bad day? So I don't know, they said something to you before you left home, or something happened at work and then you took it home so you had a bad night. Now, do you think it's possible you're giving that person too much power? Have you ever let somebody spoil your whole week? Your whole month? See, now that's really giving them too much power, right? So here's my question. Why am I so often at the mercy of those who don't deserve to control my life? Other people shouldn't determine the kind of day you have. Now they do, I know, and they do for me sometimes too, because, you know, it's simple. All I want is a warm bed and a kind word and unlimited power. Okay, would you like unlimited power? I can give it to you. It only takes about 7 minutes. All right? So watch how we do it. It's got to do with that little model in front of you. Remember, we're going for unlimited power because remember what we said earlier on. Awareness gives you choice. Choice gives you power. Now we're going for the power. The power means that you will be able to do a wide variety of things in response to anything another person does. All right, so here's the model. 2 people are in a relationship. Now, what do you control? Where's your power? You control how you choose to take in information. So, for example, do I have any idea what anybody in this room has taken in so far, if anything? I know you're highly trained students. You spent a lot of time in school early in your life. You can look at me like you're giving me your undivided attention, and the truth of the matter is you're making your shopping list for after work. I don't control what information you take in. You got that? You control that. Now, what about the information you take in and you make meanings out of? Do I have any idea what kind of meanings you're making out of anything I'm saying today? And do you think it's possible that everybody in the world, in the room, made a different meaning out of the same sentence? Right? Because what? We have different life stories and our brains work different. And do you also agree that you choose the behaviors that you're going to do? I don't know what you're going to do next, but you get to choose, don't you? So I don't control the information you take in, the meaning you get from it, and the behaviors that you're going to do. You agree? I don't control that. Let's look at what you don't control. Do you know what information I've been taking in about you? Now, I have a little bit of an added advantage because I used to do psychological evaluations for the courts. I probably did 1,000 of them. And that's where they send you a guy who's about to get sentenced. Could be a gal, but most of them are guys. And you're supposed to do a psychological assessment and write up a 5-page report and send it back to the judge so the judge can use it to determine what kind of sentence to give this person. All right, so you got to get good at sizing people up quickly. So you're paying attention to nonverbals all the time. You're giving them a couple psychological profiles, and then you do a little bit of clinical interviewing and blah, blah, blah. So actually, do any of you know anything that I figured out about you already? No, you don't know that. Don't worry, I haven't figured out very much. And what meaning I've made of any behaviors? You see, you're all sitting here. You don't think you're doing nothing, but you're all doing a lot all the time. I'm watching your nonverbals, right? Do you know what meaning I'm making out of any of that? No, you don't. That happens inside my head. You can't see it. And do you know what I'm going to do next? Most of the time I don't know, but I'm sure you don't know. All right? So let's review the model. You control the information you take in, the meaning you make out of it, and what you choose to do next. You do not control the information the other person takes in, the meaning they make out of it, or what they choose to do next. Got it? That's the model. Does it make sense? Okay, now, let's make it make more sense. I want to invite you to go back in your life story to a time and a place where you had a significant communication breakdown, conflict problem with another human being. Can you find such a time and a place? If not, you can come and live with my family. We know how to do this. All right? You got a time and a place, significant conflict, significant communication breakdown, misunderstanding, problem. Okay? Now, in the heat of that conflict or misunderstanding, what I want to know is if you were honest with yourself, where would you have to admit you were putting your energy and your effort? And if you're an average human being, what you might have been doing is trying to change the information the other person was taking in. Have you ever noticed in a conflict, it's real common to try to raise your voice a little bit because they're not getting it, right? Do you do that? And then sometimes you get really frustrated because you'll say, that's not what I said. Well, I have to draw you a picture or what, right? Because they're not getting the right meaning to your communication, right? So you're trying to change the meanings they're making, and what do you secretly want? You secretly want to change their behaviors because you believe if they would get their fanny in the saddle and ride right, this relationship could work. Isn't that true? In misunderstandings, conflicts, and problems, that's where most people put their energy and their effort. So the tragedy of my own life story is I didn't know hardly any of this stuff in the first half of my life. So it was like a journey for me to start figuring some of this stuff out, and fortunately I had a lot of nice mentors and teachers who helped me. In the first half of my life, when there was misunderstanding, communication breakdown, conflict, problem, this is what I did. I tried to change the information you were taking in. I tried to change the meanings you were making out of it, and I secretly wanted to change your behavior because if you would just get things right, we could make this relationship work. Now, what's your response when somebody comes up to you and is basically telling you that the information you have and how you're thinking about it is wrong, and you need to listen to them so they can give you the correct way to think about it and the correct meanings, and that they could give you the correct way that you should be behaving now instead of the way you're behaving. So I come to you and I offer you all that. What's your response? Thank you? No. Bye-bye. Right. It builds resistance because I'm accidentally telling you you're not okay the way you are right now. And most people get defensive and resistive at that point. So in the heat of the conflict, misunderstanding, communication breakdown, conflict, because I'm putting my energy and effort into the three parts of the relationship where I have no power and no control, I'm accidentally increasing the misunderstanding and the conflict. But you know what? I'm not going to take responsibility for that. I'm going to pretend that's your fault too. Isn't that what we do? Now, the tragedy of my life is not that I was doing this in the first half of my life. That's bad enough. But the real tragedy was that while I was putting my energy and effort here, the three parts of the relationship where I have very limited power and very limited control, I was overlooking the three parts of the relationship where I have unlimited power and unlimited control. I wasn't looking at the information I was taking in. You can always take in more information. You can always make new meanings out of any information you take in. There's a million ways to experience anything. There's always another meaning that you could take that might be more helpful at that time, and you can always choose your behavior. So now, the next time, now this is what I'm hoping for you in the next 12 to 24 hours, is that somehow or another the universe sends you, in the form of a person, a very difficult misunderstanding, communication breakdown, conflict problem. And there you are. Now when that happens, aren't we all a little bit scared? I mean, do any of you just love conflict so much that you're going out there hoping for another one? Most of us don't. Most of us have a lot of bad experience with conflict, so we already start to feel threatened when we see one on the horizon. When you feel threatened, what do? Are you open to new possibility now? No, when you feel threatened, you close down and you go back to what you've always done, even if it wasn't helpful. But now what I want you to do, because in the next 12 to 24 hours I'm asking for the universe to send this to you, a significant communication breakdown, misunderstanding, conflict problem, and I want you to look at where you put your energy and effort. And now your first inclination is going to put it to the three parts of the relationship where you don't have any power and you don't have any control. But I want you to try to get a grip on yourself and say, no, I can do this different. It's going to be painful at first, but I know I can do this different. And I want to put my energy into the three parts of the relationship where I have unlimited power and unlimited control. And see, I'm not going to try to change the other person now. I'm going to try to change myself. Because if I change myself, the relationship changes. Well, that's a different way of thinking, isn't it? So when your relationships aren't working, you got to fight with your brain to not look to what's going on with the other person and why they're wrong and why they're not doing things. You got to look at yourself and say, what could I do different? Because if you could bring something different could happen. When I talk about this model of power and control, I came back to my office one day and I had this posted. This is a serenity prayer which is used in 12-step programs. It was written by a theologian called Reinhold Niebuhr. But you probably know the prayer, don't you? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Go back to your handout. What can't you change? You can't change the information they're taking in. You can't change the meanings they're making out of it, and you can't change their behavior. You have very limited power to do that. Give me the courage to change the things I can. What can I change? I can change the information I'm taking in. I can change the meanings I'm making out of it, and I can change what I'm going to do next. Give me the wisdom to know the difference. So if we could just think about it different. Some thinking quotes from Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or not, you're right. Have you ever noticed that? Do you ever catch your mind when you're starting to do something you've never done before and you start in your mind thinking about everything that could go wrong, which makes it much more likely those things will go wrong because you're preparing it? Oh, it's crazy. A person is what they think about all day long. Could you think about stuff different and have a different day? Yeah. Okay, nothing's good or bad thing you make. So my favorite, I've had lots of problems in my life, most of which never happened. Mark Twain. Do we have any worriers here? Where you know, just to get ready, you imagine the worst possible thing that could happen. I just want to be prepared. And it never happens. So you kind of go, well, that was a lot of wasted time, energy, and effort to get prepared for what never happened. Right? What we believe we become. So, we did number 4. You have everything you need to change now. Let me give you a story about that. Somebody's life had really gone downhill. They had lost their job. Their partner had divorced them. They didn't get custody of the kids. They lost their house. They had a bit of a drinking problem, and they lost all their money. They don't know, what they're going to do next. And things are so bad for this person that this person has decided that they'd rather not go on living. They decided they would do themselves in. And somebody was talking to them and heard them talk like this and said, well, before you do yourself in, you can always do that. I have a friend I'd like you to go see. I wonder if you'd go talk to him just once and see if he could maybe help you. He's helped a lot of people. And so the guy says, well, okay, I could do myself in later. I'll go see the guy. So he goes and sees the guy, and the guy listens to his long, sad story and says, I'm pretty sure I can help you. But you have to do exactly everything that I tell you to do. And the guy says, well, if it'll help me, I'll do it. So he says, okay. And he hands him a big legal pad, and he sends him home. And he says, now tonight at home, I want you to sit down with this legal pad, and I want you to write out a list of everything that's wrong with your life. And the guy figures, I can do that. I've got a lot wrong with my life. So he goes home, and he's up most of the night. They're going to meet the next morning for coffee. And he comes back, and he's got like 8 or 10 pages, both sides, single-spaced bullets, everything that's wrong with his life. Comes in, and he throws it on the table in front of the guy. And the guy takes about a half an hour. He reads very carefully through it, every item. He turns to the guy, and he said, you did a really good job on this assignment. I've given this assignment to lots of people, but nobody's had a more complete list than what you have. Now the guy's feeling better already. At least I can do something right. I can tell people what's wrong with my life. And then he's not ready for the next thing that happens. The guy turns to him and he says, but, there's one thing, one really, really big thing that's wrong with your list. The guy can't believe it. He thought he had put everything on the list. So he says, okay, tell me, what's wrong with my list? Guy says, you really want to know? He says, yes, I do. Turns to him and he says, you ain't on it. So that's what we're talking about. For relationships to change, you have to change. For the relationships in your life to get better, you got to get better at relating. People often think that they just got to find the right person. It's not about finding the right person. It's about being the right person. And this is a lifelong journey. You get to work on it the rest of your life because we can all get better at relating. So if you're in a relationship and you don't like what you're getting, you need to figure out what you need to do different. It is not about the other person. It's about you having greater choice.